After 5 years break, we're back in Essen to do some amazing interviews with incredible people. Welcome to GMS Magazine at Spiel 2022. Okay, now we're coming back to the Board and Dice booth, but right now I am with Kuba, who I've known for a while in Facebook and works on Board and Dice, but that is not the reason why I'm interviewing him. In any event, Kuba, hello.
Hi.
Firstly, I'm interested in finding out exactly what do you do for Board and Dice in the game industry?
So for a long time, I've been with Board and Dice since the NSKN time. So when we were publishing games like Dragon's Gate College and then Teotihuacan, and we had Strawberry Studio. And I joined the company when I finished my career at marketing agencies as a copywriter. And Agnieszka and Andre came to me and said, hey, why don't you want to work for us? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So and I joined them as a marketing person. Then I moved on to production and logistics, and then I started doing art direction, and that's what I've been doing up till now. But some time ago we decided that board games are fun, but role-playing games are even more fun.
Yeah, you're a role player at heart, aren't you?
Yeah. I think I started playing role-playing games when I was like about 10, and somebody showed me Warhammer. And then I moved on to World of Darkness with Vampire, Werewolf, and Mage, and Cyberpunk, and then Call of Cthulhu, Fading Suns, and then I became a teenager, and I was like, games, no fun anymore. I just want to meet friends and go to parties. But then my oldest daughter was born, like 11 years ago, and at some point when she was like 3, I was telling her some bed stories, and I recall on those games I used to play when I was a kid, and we started doing those bed stories a bit interactive. We've introduced very simple dice rolling system. She had a cat, and that cat had 3 attributes, and you could roll a d6 to check if its magic, wisdom, or agility would work. That was just fun. And then I was like, wow, I really liked it. I need to try it again. And I have a friend who runs a lot of games, and he ran for us Game of Thrones, Songs of Fire and Ice, I think, and Legends of 5 Rings, yeah. And then I just, went in, and now I have like 500 books. I am the author of a Polish setting book for Call of Cthulhu called Warsaw: The Doomed City, which is a mirror book to Berlin, which was also a setting book for Call of Cthulhu. I've been also the author of Polish settings for Tales from the Loop and Tales from the Flood, because in Polish edition you have the Swedish loop, the American one, and the Polish, so I've done them. And I was thinking like, well, maybe we could then do something about it. And we decided to set a sister company or a daughter company, whatever you think of that, which is called Cozy Coven. And now we think that we could publish, a few role-playing games.
And you have started with Touched by the Gods,
Yep.
which is, considering that you've done so much dark stuff with Vampire and Werewolf, and even Warhammer, even though it's fantasy, but it's pretty dark fantasy, you've gone with Touched by the Gods, which is very high fantasy. Why did you choose that setting?
Well, it's not that high if you think of it. Well, because in Touched by the Gods, you play characters that lived in Europe of the first millennium that could have been. It's like 1,500 years ago. And you play heroes. You've been touched by a god, it's divine energy, it's filling you up, you're cool, you can do stuff, you can jump higher and punch stronger, everything, yeah? Now, the more you draw from that divine energy, the more it starts to consume you. Basically, you're just a human, just an imperfect vessel, which cannot hold that forever. So the game has this kind of spike when you're getting better and better and better, but then you start paying for it by getting hurt or hurting those around you, until the moment when you cannot hold this energy anymore in you, and you die a very horrible death. most likely taking the lot around you with you. So the more powerful hero you are, the further people will go back from you, because they never know when you're gonna shift. Of course, there are mechanisms in the game that can mitigate that, but on the other hand, do you want to mitigate that? Because the more powerful you are, well, the more powerful you are, the more dice you roll, and you can do cooler stuff, but you can also blow up, basically. And so it is heroic in a sense, but it's also very dark. I wanted it to be more of a kind of personal dilemma, personal horror kind of thing. And it's rather gloom, I would say, especially when you have to make choices between your humanity and the goals that the game sets in front of you. So I would say it's not high fantasy per se. I would rather say if you've read or watched or played The Witcher, then this is the closest, I would say. It's just another 500 to 700 years back when it comes to civilization kind of level, right? Because at that point, 500 to 600 AD in Europe, it was basically one huge forest, the center of Europe, right? So the human settlements are quite scarce, and the wild is basically fested with magical creatures that can be either look a bit like humans or not at all. There can be beasts and there can be dragons. So it's quite fun to explore as long as you're not being eaten by something.
So essentially, yeah, you rock, but eventually you're going to end up wishing that the god had touched somebody else, because your life is going to be very short.
Well, yes. This game uses Year Zero engine, so you might know it from games like Mutant Year Zero or Alien or Coriolis or like that. Now, your lifespan, your average lifespan of an Alien character, I would say, is like 3/4 of a game session, basically. Now, in Hero, in Touched by the Gods, I hope it's more like 3 sessions or even 5, but I can't promise you that you will live the entire campaign. Now, and this is whenever, when I play role-playing games, whenever I create a character, my first thought is, how will they die? And if I know that, I think they could die, I don't know, in a gunfight in the center of 1920s New York, I'm like, okay, so this Cthulhu character will be a mobster or a cop, maybe a corrupt cop. Yeah, that'll be a corrupt cop who is, quite short-tempered but brave. And now I know how. I'm just starting to build up on that, and I just like when characters die in stories in general, because I think it makes a good story. I mean, Alien, the first one. If all 7 passengers of Nostromo would survive, that wouldn't be such a fun movie, would it?
Absolutely not.
So, yeah.
Okay, but that presents an inherent problem when it's about running the adventure, especially if you want to have a longer campaign. Because if you run out of characters, what kind of adventure design tricks or advice does the book come with, so people can design it with a way that new characters can be introduced without affecting the story arc too much?
So basically what we try to do in Touched by the Gods is not to give you directions as in written scenarios with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 some numbered events. It's more like of a sandbox game. You have a story arc, like a meta campaign that goes over that, but it's just events that happen over time. So when they happen, they usually basically are somehow touching everybody. So if you die, if your character dies and another one hops in, they're basically in the story. They know what's happening. They know how the world is collapsing, what a great evil is coming and trying to destroy our world, why the tree of life upon which the entire world is built is dying slowly, and so on and so on. This is a disaster that touches everyone. So there is an apocalypse coming, and everybody in their sane mind will want to save the world, so,
Okay, that's fair enough. Very quickly, what kind of characters can you create in the game?
Well, there are 8 kind of archetypes, starting with your usual warrior or hunter, but we also have, for example, Soulspeaker, which is a character that can get in touch with basically with our descendants, with our ancestors. And I don't know if you've watched this TV show, The Vikings, but there was Floki, their character, who was like a shaman kind of. So that's your Soulspeaker, and he quite often talks to people that other people can't see, so that makes other people a bit confused. But on the other hand, well, good thing is that those people who nobody else can see, talk back to Soulspeakers, although the others can't hear them, so it makes even more confusion. You will have a proper craftsman, because each god in the wild represents something, and Svarog, who is the god, like the smith god of artisans, will always take care of craftsmen. We have Songbearers, who are something like bards, who have an in-game important mechanical role, because there is a lot of exploration. So as I said, the wild is vast. But so when you walk, when you get away from home, the further you are, the higher the mistrust level is. So when your mistrust level is high enough, people will be hostile towards you. And to change that, you need someone to sing a song about amazing deeds you've done for those people. So you go out there, you do something good for them, but then somebody needs to tell you, oh, sorry. If they do that, that's your new home, basically. From in this place, your mistrust level is 0. Everybody, respects you. You have healer. You have so you have what to choose from, basically.
Yes, there's plenty of variation. What are your long-term plans for the game? Because it feels like it's a game that has plenty of scope, not just for the stories, but actually for the world to change as it goes along and the apocalypse settles in.
Absolutely, yes. So in my head, it's a series of standalone books, standalone setting books. So now we're talking about Slavs. I'm from Poland. I understand this culture. I understand this religious beliefs that's no longer here, but I've heard of them. But I have a friend from Sweden who's eager to do the Viking setting, which could be like 300 later. I have a friend who is a historian and a university professor at ancient Rome culture. He could easily do a book with me or for me about ancient Rome, let's say 200 or 300 before that. I would love to do a game set in ancient Germania. There was this famous battle of the Teutoburg Forest, and it was basically a legion of Romans went in and vanished. Oh, this is such a fantastic breaking point for even setting creation. I mean, what happened there? Well, something happened, something twisted. Are we still in Germania? Or maybe we're something in a parallel place where that entire legion is still there, with a bunch of Germanic warriors who are as confused as these are. How do we get back? I mean, there's many possibilities for that.
Well, I very, very much look forward to seeing all of that happen. Kuba, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations on Touched by the Gods, because it feels fantastic. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.